Okay, we're back working on this 2012 Dodge Durango. We're going to be taking care of these rear shocks here today. We already got the front shocks replaced. Or else let's go ahead and take a look at these. So after we got the front shocks replaced, the ride felt a whole lot better, but I can still feel the bounce in the rear and like a little bit of sway, you know, going around curves. So hopefully this is going to fix all of these issues. Okay, let's go over the tools we're going to be using besides the jack and jack stand. Okay, I've got a couple different wrenches here, 13/16 and a 15/16, because I don't have a lot of metrics that size. I've just got the ratchet and the torque wrench. Now our socket sizes, we've got a 24 7/8 for the lug nuts, 21 and 18. We got a 16, a 10 millimeter and a 7 millimeter. Got some medium Loctite and a trim tool, some extensions. Now you'll need one of these little kits, or you'll need some of these little push tabs, because we're going to be removing some of these and replacing a few. Now I went ahead and chalked the tires up here in the front of both sides. We're going to be lifting this up quite a bit here on this one side. Now one tool I didn't talk about is the one, I've got my own little special tool for taking the nut off of the shock tower up there, so you want to stay tuned for that. Go ahead and get these broke loose. I'm using a 7/8. Okay, here's where we're going to position the jack. We're going to lift on that spot right there. Alright, let's go ahead and finish removing all these lugs. Okay, before we can do anything, we got to peel this fender liner back. We're just going to kind of take half of the clips and just fold it back over here. We'll just start down here with this 8 millimeter right here. These here you have to break off. It's like a rubber plastic rivet. And just give that other part a push back through. We got a 10 millimeter right here. Now these other tabs are just going to be these like push pins, and you're just going to have to get underneath each of those and give that a pull up. Like I said, I'm going to take at least half of this loose. So we're getting these up top here. Okay, we should have enough of these loose. Okay, next thing up, we're going to get on the lower bolt for our shock. We've got a 24 millimeter nut over here on this right side, and we've got a 21 on this side. For starters, I'm just putting my wrench on this side to keep it from turning. Okay, now we're going to place the 24, start getting this loose. Stop about right there. Okay, so just so I don't run out of clearance, I have put the 15/16, and I'm now turning this other side, the bolt side. This bolt has splines on it, so initially you can't turn it from this side. Of course, it's always easier to break it from the nut side. Here's that self-locking 24 millimeter nut. Okay, I've got my other jack over here just right under where the ball joint is, and we're just going to lift up just a little bit to take a little tension off here. It doesn't take a lot. Okay, now I've just barely put any tension on this whatsoever, so you don't want to just be jacking it up. You just want to barely put a little tension just to make the bolt a little bit more free. Okay, now if it still doesn't want to move, you may have to take a pry bar and a hammer and just hit this thing, because it's still a little bit stuck here. Don't know why. It's not in a bind. Just almost got it. And if it's still hanging up, you may be able just to turn it like this and get it to come on out. This is starting to move now a little bit. It's just wanting to catch on those threads just a little bit. You can see it's just as loose as it could be. Okay, I took a little more tension off of it. Didn't have quite enough. Right now we just got to go up here and get these 16s loose. Alright, so we just got to swap this top piece over here, this mount, over to the new one. As far as I know, there's no special orientation. However, I know that this was the side that I brought it out. And this just pops right off. Has a little plastic clip right there. Now we got to go ahead and get the 18 millimeter. Now, except for this, I'm using a 19 millimeter. No, this is 18, fits it just fine. It's a 19 millimeter spark plug wrench. And we're also using a 5/16 or 8 millimeter, and that goes on to this part right here. So that's going to keep that from spinning, because all this is going to do is spin while we try to take it loose. So we got to get this on here, and then we're going to feed this through. And then we're just going to go just like we'd loosen anything else. It's going to be pretty snug initially. But the main thing, we need to hold this still. Now, if you have an impact, you can use that. However, it might spin, and once you break it loose, it's all but certain that it's going to start spinning because the struts are worn out. So initially, if it's too tight to get with this method, you'll want to break it loose with an impact if you have one. If not, you're going to have to do this, and depending on how tight it is, you might even break a little 1/4 inch socket or something. Now, this is coming out no problem. So we'll go ahead and just finish spinning this off. And another thing about it, when putting it back on, it is not advisable to use an impact for tightening. Alright, so it's the old Teflon locking nut. Let's give this a pull off. So if you wonder why you're getting bounce, just take a look at this. There should be no way, I should barely even be able to put all my weight on this thing and push it in. I can easily just push this in and out with my fingers. Completely useless. So it's supposed to have a little foam piece in there. Put this little mark facing out. Alright. We got our new Teflon locking nut. Now this aftermarket has a different hex. It's a 7mm. So I'm going to have to first get it started a little bit. So very same thing, I'm going to use this to tighten. Just going to bring my 7mm in this time. And I'm just holding it with the 7. And we're going to run it all the way down till it stops, and we're going to get it as snug as we can get it with this. And then hopefully it'll stay put so we can torque it. Okay, so that's as far as I can go. It's bottomed out. I'm just going to get it as tight as I can get it with this. Alright, so it's hard to hold this thing, but I managed to get it to 35 foot-pounds. I'm just going to pop this back on. Alright, we got us some medium Loctite on here. Go ahead and get these back in. Alright, we're going to torque these to 48 foot-pounds. Okay, now this one gets torqued to 173 it calls for. I'm going to get it as tight as I can with my extended handle ratchet here. It does take a little doing to get this to torque. I'm going to snug it up as tight as I can get it with this first, and then we'll get our torque wrench on it. I'm just holding it over here with the 13/16. Okay, this is where it helps to have the vehicle lifted a little bit, because you can get the clearance to, and you still got to hold it over here because it will try to turn. It's a lot of torque. Alright, let's get this fender liner back in place. Where we broke the snaps, I'm just using these little Christmas tree ones. This felt gets kind of sandwiched in between this piece and the little plastic bumper behind it. So that'll hold it in place. Alright, here's our 10 millimeter. Push this felt back over. Alright, time to get our tire back on. We're going to torque these to 130 foot-pounds. Alright, nothing left to do now but take it down the road and see how the suspension feels. Alright, so far it's feeling really good. I've taken over several bumps. I'm trying to see if it's going to recreate that sway in the rear end, and it appears that this has kind of put a stop to that. But those rear struts were pretty bad. I think they were way worse than the front ones. So I would call that a fix. Alright, so that's going to do it for the video. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and thank you for watching.